You notice is compared to the Rincon, which is probably its best comparison. Stamps, steel, suspension components. They're real thick. They're not very chintzy. Pretty stout. Interestingly, the shock looks really pathetic compared to the Rincon, but it's because on the Rincon the shock mounts to the upper control arm, so it goes up to here. Here, shock mounts to the lower control arm, it goes here. Really neat kind of hybrid control arm structure here, where it's almost got like a skid plate built in as part of the swing arm, but it's also the structural piece. So you have tubular going to where the shock mounts. So the shock mounts here, and then this flat steel comes out to here, and it's pretty thick. I mean, they were definitely not scared to use some thick steel here, so that adds a lot of weight. If it had been aluminum like the Rincon, who knows how much that would have saved. But it's pretty neat. Nice, pretty big aluminum knuckle, interesting geometry. It's got a couple inches more travel than a Rincon, so they found some way to work this pretty interestingly. Shock being lower, better center of gravity obviously, instead of the shock being way up here, shock's way down here. Diff's neat, axles are neat, really pretty, nice boots. They're almost like the lifetime boots you get on Honda cars now. I mean, I don't see a whole lot of sticks going left and right before they pop those. And hydraulic, nice reservoir for the rear brakes. This is your tuning diaphragm, or not diaphragm, I don't know, big air bladder thingy for the airbox, helps keep pressure in there. Honda also says it helps with water crossing. I don't know if that's true or not, but I will certainly find out. Nice big brake caliper. There's your parking brake, universal joint. Drive shaft on this thing, a lot thicker than the 420 and the old 500s. I even think it's thicker than the Rincon, but I haven't compared it side by side yet. I'll take some measurements. Frame's real pretty. I mean, very thick. This is all real beefy because this one's designed to have a huge rack capacity compared to the other ones. Already got some dirt up here from the parking lot. Yeah, but I mean, this thing it's amazing. Fuel injected. Sway bar is interesting. Huge, super beefy sway bar. Much longer radius than the Rincon. And these little joints look like tie rod ends instead of on the Rincon where they're like little plastic, pathetic. I don't know, you lift it and it breaks pretty much. And you can see even with suspension at full droop, the angles are nowhere near maxed out. So you could lift it a little bit and leave that on there. It's going to go in the trash first chance I get. What else is worth noting with this side? Okay, so the Rincon frame is straight. Comes out from here and goes straight down. You can see this frame bolts up here, like almost like where a swing arm would. And then the carriage drops down slightly, comes and ties up. So it's got the same carriage feature of the Rincon, where you could unbolt this whole thing and swing it out really easily to, I don't know, do a secondary gear reduction. But it's got more ground clearance. And these skid plates aren't really making the most out of that because they're kind of wasting it. But if you remove the sway bar and got rid of these two skid plates, you'd have a good amount of center clearance there, kind of like with a solid axle bike. And I really like that because that's the spot right there that hangs up trying to climb out of really steep holes. So that's going to work good for me when I either make some custom skid plates or just say screw it all together and get rid of the skid plates. And you can see my shifter bolts right there because it's a manual foot shift. This ain't no bitch. Drain for the airbox. Let's check it. Oh man, there's a little piece of something in there. No, that's fine. Giant airbox. That'll hold a lot of water before it gets into my engine. That's what I like to see. Very interesting. This thing officially has an automotive style mounted exhaust muffler. Fully isolated in rubber. Just pushed through, just like a Honda car really. I mean, very cool. Honda's been working its way up to that for a long time with the four-wheelers, kind of like semi-isolating the exhaust, so that boom, fully isolated. So that'll make it a little quieter, a lot less vibration, less fatigue on the rider. Better overall experience. Bolts in very similar to the Rincon, where the diff actually ties into the A-arm support, using the diff sort of as a stress member to rigid everything up. That's what I like to see. A little sneak peek of what this thing's going to look like when it's big. The angles really aren't that bad. Get it up and bend it out. That's probably what I'll do, just to keep the mud protection and not trim anything. But the plastics on this bike are so cheap, pretty much disposable. Let's set her down and see how much she squats. This is suspension set at the softest setting, so we should get some squat. Yeah, we got about 2 inches of squat. That still looks pretty good. I'd say it's much better than any piece of shit broke force I've ever seen stock on 31s or Can-Am or whatever else junk you bought, dumbasses. Come forward. They have a forward rake to them, where the Rincon is centered. Most Yamahas have a very rear rake. This is good because I'm not sure why the hell Honda did it. I'm sure they had some crazy torque transfer, suspension, movement, alignment reason. But what it allows you to do is, when you do a long arm stretch, like probably a 4-inch I'm going to do on here, maybe 5, and you make it longer, you also want to make the bike, you make it wider, you make the bike a little longer too. so it climbs into holes better, and you don't rub if you want to run, like, say, 34.5s. I don't know who would ever run 34.5s on a bike like this, but I might. So problem with a bike that already has a negative rake is, like a Can-Am or a Yamaha, you do the big stretch, then you move the wheels back some, you put even more of a negative rake. That rake pretty much adds to your angle. So if you have a 45-degree angle and a 4-inch rake, that's probably like a 50-degree angle. I haven't done the math yet, I will. Just guessing. So with this, I'm going to be able to crank them down and bring them back, giving me some more clearance in the front of the wheel between the floorboard, and it's actually going to subtract from my stock angle. So if I bring them back to center, which is probably about an inch, which is all I really want to do, and do like a 4-inch lift, I'm not going to have that bad of an angle compared to what Honda did already, so I think it'll be fine. Some giant 27-inch high flotation mud lights. And this rim is so light, it's retarded. Look at this weld. Oh man, that's so cool. Douglas wheels. So they pretty much do one weld, and it comes 3 pieces of metal, 1 piece of metal, spun. This is the blue label, which is supposed to break if you do anything harder on it, but I mean, dude, this wheel weighs under 2 pounds. It's amazing. That's a 10 by 9. A view of the front, nice long shock, nice super thick beefy tie rod. Floorboards are like a Rancher 350, very well supported. I can rock the heck out of that, and they raked them back nice and far, so I'm pretty sure it'll clear 31. Reservoir for radiator, hate radiators, not a fan of that, but hey, guess what? It is what it is. Nice plastic guard to keep crap off your brakes. Is it going to be that effective for me? I don't know. But this is interesting. It has limited slip. You see, it's not a regular open diff. It has limited slip and a locking diff, and they kind of work together. I'm not going to get into explaining that. There's the mechanism that gives you 2- and 4-wheel drive and diff locks, all the same thing, kind of like a Yamaha, except way smarter and better because it's a Honda. Pretty casting on the front diff, giant front axles, super beefy. The outer joints are enormous. Same nice hard Lifetime boots, very good, very impressive. Huge beefy thick steering stem. You can see the model right there. TRX 500 FM5. It's actually F5F, but depending on where you look on the frame, it'll say 5 or 5F for some reason. Kind of weird. Giant gas tank up in here. You can actually see that it's all bolted in there properly. What else are we looking at? This is the breather for your reservoir. That's got to get snorkeled up. That's going to get full of mud right there. Completely full of mud. Disgustingly full of mud. Come on, Honda. Rack, pretty beefy. You can kind of tell the way they curved this. They designed a crumple zone into it. But the front bumper is stout. I mean, very big improvement. One bar that goes all the way across. It's fish mouthed and welded in for extra strength. Ties into a piece here that's real thick. Single rundown mini trees and push out mini Polaris. Yeah, anyone who's interested in buying this bike. I don't know why no one ever does this kind of stuff, because I had no idea when I bought this, but it will clear 31 stock with about an inch to spare. And this is at full down drop suspension, at full lock turn, it's clearing a 31, and it could probably clear a bigger tire than that. When your suspension's fully drooped down is when it's going to get the closest to the frame, right? Because it gets narrower as your suspension hangs. So at full down travel, you'd expect to rub at full lock. Not the case. Both directions, we've got plenty of clearance. That's phenomenal. Nowhere even close to rubbing anywhere. And man, this thing is smooth. I'm never buying a used bike again. So there she is on 31s. Unbelievably good looking. Ground clearance is enormous. It's got a full, like, almost racing looking belly pan on it. Wheels look great. It doesn't even look like it needs a lift. I mean, it looks right on 31s. It does make them look kind of small, but that's what happens when, you know, they got really aggressive style fenders and stuff from the factory. It's hard to really fill them up. All plastic skid plates. Yeah, that's kind of lame. I'm going to put aluminum ones on it. Huge ground clearance. Did a really good job of maximizing where they could, getting the skid plate to tuck up in there. I mean, Honda did a lot of smart stuff. Didn't exactly do it what I would want them to do. It looks like it's pre-ready for a winch or something with these bolts here. It is beefy enough to put a fair blade hook too. I wouldn't want to put a winch on this bike, it's already heavy enough, but that is some serious ground clearance. I'm spectacular. The rims are perfect. The bodywork really goes with the tires, very aggressive. This is no lift, factory preload. I could get an inch out of it just adjusting it, but I'm not going to, because it's not even rubbing. It looks perfect. I've been riding around the yard and it literally hasn't rubbed at all. Like hitting trees, running over stuff, very impressive. And the bike, so everything only has what did I pay for all this together? $109,500. And you can spend a whole lot more than that on a piece of crap stock bike with a belt that's not going to ever have a chance of spinning these tires. 14, 57, 30. All right, check this out. Seat's off. Battery cover compartment's off. All the wiring's available. Boom. 58.16. So less than a minute, 45 seconds, and the bike looks like this. You have full access to the airbox, the engine, all the electronics, which are up high and dry. The intake system, which is really neat. It's got this scoop that funnels cool air in, up over the header, over the engine, and funnels it straight into the exhaust. That's kind of new for Honda, the actual air scoop thing. It's got forced induction at high speed. Batteries access. This little plate can come out, boom, really easy to access the battery. All your wiring, your fuel injection, your fuel pump integrated, the fuel pump up high. It's beautiful. Super freaking easy. I don't even know. So here's putting it back on. You think, oh, that was easy? Try putting it back on. Let's see how hard that is. All right. So this is a pretty big piece of plastic, but it's well designed if you know what you're doing. Unlike the dealership, I do. Line up that piece, line up that piece, line up these two down here, go the other side. Up behind the brake fiddle, line up those two tangs, line up this tang, look in here, line up that tang, snap. All right, I'll start snapping. Snap, reach through, snap, reach through, snap, 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 reach through, snap, 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 crackle, pop, boom. All right, that was just under 2 minutes. So 45 seconds to get it naked, 2 minutes to get it clothed again. Did not need a single tool, did not remove a single plastic clip. That is a huge improvement over the 41500. Oh my God. Let's get a little test ride. Torquey son of a bitch.